Where am I at with UGC? Well, it's been a busy first week. And first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to all of the support that everyone's given me in the comments on my last video. Really appreciate that. Didn't really expect much or anybody else to kind of like show that much support, so I do really appreciate that. But where I've actually been up to is doing a lot of research and actually deciding what it is that I wanted to kind of like focus on and how I can then start building this up. So I've got some notes over here that I'm going to kind of like go through. So one of the first things that I realized was being a UGC creator at 50 plus, it kind of like puts me in a unique area. So I kind of wanted to position that as one of my unique selling points and kind of like being able to kind of like see where I could take that and use that to its advantage, because I'm not a 20-year-old doing makeup tutorials, let's put it that way. So what else I've decided is, you know, and I'm not going to do running and things like that, going through my notes here. So the areas I have decided on when I was doing my research is that I want to continue doing things like creative software. You know, I'm still an Adobe ambassador for Adobe Express, Firefly and Premiere Mobile, so I'm still going to be doing those videos, but I'm going to kind of try and add a little bit more of a spin on them to how you can use those tools to become a better UGC creator, or how you can use those tools as a UGC creator. So I thought that that would be really helpful, and I've got a ton of ideas that I'm already cooking up around that side. The other area where I thought, like, you know, I'm still open to working with other apps and software and platforms like that to be able to do those as a UGC creator. I also decided that, you know, using tech and gear, I love gear, I love tech. People always come to me and ask me questions around tech and that side of things. So I wanted to make sure that that was kept in there. And also kind of like, I know I said I don't want to do running because I can't, because I've got a slightly dodgy knee. But I was thinking, like, are there other kind of like areas that I could do as a 50-year-old content creator, or as a 50-year-old, that might help from that point of view. So I do things like on a spin bike, or hydration, vitamins and things like that. I thought those are all kind of like healthy everyday activities that I might be able to work, or find some brands to work with around that area. So I kind of like thought that, you know, I don't want to kind of like narrow myself down to any one particular area as such, but those are an area that I want to start creating content around, and thought that that would be one of the most beneficial options. Then I continued to do some more research around what other UGC creators are doing, how they're doing it. I watched a lot of UGC content on how they're filming it, and that's given me different ideas as to how I can potentially do some of my content. And I thought, well, one of these is this is just kind of like sit down, kind of like yapping video that is popular, it seems, right now. So I thought this would be, you know, just a way of doing the update this week to show you what I've actually been working on. So only one of the 7 or so creator profiles I saw showed any kind of like actual rate cards or anything else like that. So for me right now, I'm thinking I don't want to put a rate card out there and for a brand to see it and go like, oh, well, you know, that's not within our rates. I want to kind of like, for brands to kind of like come to me, or for me to go to brands and think like, well, this is a brand I want to work with, or a brand that says like, this is a creator that we really want to work with, and kind of like come up with a budget around that side. It's really windy and started raining outside. Easily distracted. So a lot of people weren't kind of like creating content for recording videos or creating screen recordings and things like that. What else have we got here? Most people seem to have their UGC portfolios linked in their profiles. I've linked mine in my profile, both on Instagram and also in my About Me section here on YouTube. I'll have to update that. But I've also created that on my actual website. A lot of people were using things like Canva and Linktree and things like that. For me, those didn't kind of like sit well with me, because I thought, well, I've already got a website. My website gets indexed in Google. I've got more chance of being found. And once I start creating blog posts on my blog around this and being a UGC creator, I'm more likely to be potentially found in searches from potential brands and things like that that might be looking for someone like me that fits their bill exactly. What else have I done? So I then went away. I did decide to build my portfolio, as I say, on my existing website, which is a Squarespace website. I'll put a link down below if you want to try out Squarespace for yourselves. I do and have been using them for a long time, and I found it really easy to kind of like just update and create a page. I've got my blog on there. I've updated my homepage, which I'm thinking again, now I'm kind of like leaning more towards the UGC side. I might still continue to update that, but that's one of the fun things about having a web page there, is I can actually change that up and move that around as and when I want to and have the time to do that. But one of the main things on there is that I've now got my UGC portfolio and everything all set out there, so when a brand comes to that, they can see exactly the demonstration of the kind of content I've created, the kind of content I can create, the kind of things that I'm interested in doing, and all that kind of like the good stuff on there, and a little bit about me as well, so they know who I am as a creator behind the camera. So I've put all of those up there. I do have a gifted collab with Eureka Mind that I'm going to be working on, so I need to create some content around that. I've been kind of like playing about with that as I've been out and about this week. And yeah, so I've put my portfolio out there. What else am I doing now? So things that I need to do next are, no, I've worked out my pricing. So I do know if a company comes to me, I've already figured out my pricing and how the licensing works and that side of things. So if they wanted to do that, I can do that. This week, I've also finished off some projects. Let me try that again. And this week, I've also finished off some projects that I had in the pipeline with Adobe and been part of an Adobe ambassador. So I finished those off this week. What's next for me is to try and find my first UGC client that is outside of Adobe. So I think I've seen a few places where you can register and create portfolios or profiles on certain sites. I've not looked into those yet, so that's this week's kind of like task to do that, is to kind of like put myself out there on things. And that's one of the things that I found quite scary, is I kind of like filled and finished off my portfolio in the first 2 or 3 days, and I kind of like, I've been thinking like, what do I want to do next? So I think I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to put myself out there to brands. I'm going to create some outreach, try and figure out how that works, find some contacts in different companies that I would like to work with. I'm going to test putting some content out on channels that I would normally have stayed away from, things like LinkedIn. I'm thinking that that might be something that's interesting. There might be someone there in my network that wants to work with a creator where I can do that kind of thing. So I'm going to also chop this video up and put these in as shorts, so I can start putting short content out that's around this and about my journey. What else have I got? I think that's pretty much where we're at next, is we need to find an actual new client. So if you are a brand or you work for a company that is looking for a UGC creator, then do drop me a comment down below, reach out to me. You've got my direct contact. I'll put a link to my portfolio down there as well, which has got some contact information on there. If you are a fellow content creator or a fellow UGC creator that has any ideas or wants to connect, to collaborate on any videos, I would love to hear from you. Collaboration is one of the best things I think we as content creators can do to actually build our audience, build our brand identity, and support each other to help each other grow and become better content creators. And I think that's about it for now. I think if you guys have got anything as I say, I'm babbling now, but if you've got anything else to say or any comments, questions, or anything else like that, let me know down in the comments. And until next week's update, or maybe even I might even do one in the middle of the week this week, let me know down in the comments. And until next time, thank you very much, and bye for now.